Welcome back, Steelers Nation, and anyone else who may be watching. I thank you for taking the time to spend a little time with me. I always appreciate that. So let's get right to it, guys. I'm going to be doing a lot of these quick hit videos. Once I see some information online from reporters or rumors or sources or what have you, I will come to you guys and make these quick reports in between time of us doing Terrible Towel Tuesday on Tuesdays. But let's get right to it, guys. The only news that I have for you today that I guess is worth talking about is the Steelers have hired a new defensive backs coach. Now, the word new is a little subjective here, right? Because they've hired Gerald Alexander. However, Gerald Alexander was already with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2022 and 2023, right? And at that time, he was called the assistant defensive backs coach. Now, as we're seeing it being reported, the title is defensive backs coach. Now, the question that I have, what does that mean for Grady Brown? If you've been following it like I've been following it, we know Grady Brown have had an interview or two with other teams. I don't know if that means that he's going to take a position somewhere else. If he's been hired, is this move in relation to that? And Mike Tomlin wants to keep more cohesion together. Clearly, that's what he wants to do. We'll talk about that in a second. But is the plan to keep more cohesion with the team and going with the guy who was there and did it before just a few years ago and bringing him back into the fold? So is that a peek behind the curtain as to letting us know perhaps that Grady Brown is no longer there? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I haven't seen any confirmation of that. But that would be my question for this hiring. Number one, this guy has already been with the Steelers, small stint, but he was just recently with the Steelers. So, I guess that's what that means, right? But then there's the other thing. Mike Tomlin did say that there would be changes, and I would just recommend to Coach Mike Tomlin, maybe talking less is the best way of talking. What I mean by that is you did answer that question at the end of the year. Reporters asked you if there would be any changes, and you said, oh, yes, there would definitely be changes. But you got to be careful with that, because here's the thing, and maybe Coach T doesn't care. Maybe Mike Tomlin doesn't care about this, but it's the perception of what that means. I'm sure most people hope it meant that we were talking about offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. Most of Steeler Nation, that's where the problem has been. That's where the complaints have been. The blame has been placed on the offensive coordinator and Arthur Smith, or defensive coordinator and Teryl Austin, or head coach and Mike Tomlin. You guys know Mike Tomlin isn't going anywhere. So your next hope was one of those two guys, right? So when Mike Tomlin says it would be changes, and when reports or reporters are asking questions about defensive performance, offensive performance, you would assume that that's what he meant when he said changes. But he's always said changes would be made. He said that during the season in terms of trying to get the ball rolling again. And that's just what it is. But I would just encourage, maybe stay away from that question if you know how it's going to be interpreted. Or maybe, like I said, maybe Mike Tomlin doesn't care at all. He's saying what he's saying, and however you perceive it is how you perceive it, I guess. But clearly, guys, there's not going to be any big changes. I didn't expect any big changes. Again, I say this over and over and over again. Looking at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they do not fire coaches under contract, whether that's head coach, coordinators, or, position coaches. They did it with Matt Canada, which was a complete surprise, which is the reason why guys like me made videos saying, whoa, I can't believe this happened, because they don't do it. So I didn't expect that once I realized Teryl Austin still has a year under his contract to go, so that would be the 2025 season. And we already knew that Arthur Smith's contract wasn't expired because he didn't sign a one-year deal. Some of us was hoping that maybe he would take one of those head coaching jobs, or maybe he would win the head coaching job at some of these teams he, interviewed for, but that was the only hope. So once I knew that, then I wasn't expecting any big changes. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. How do you feel about that? I mean, again, my questions would be, what does this mean for Grady Brown? Is he still going to be with the Steelers? Is he not? What does Gerald Alexander bring to the table? I don't know much about him. Again, I know he was with the Steelers, but I don't know his impact as a coach, right? I can't rightfully say, some of these guys, what their impact is as a coach in positional, as a positional coach. right? And again, his title is now defensive backs coach as opposed to assistant defensive backs coach. I think they have Grady Brown listed as secondary coach. So I don't know. I don't know what that means for the Steelers. But again, if you're waiting for some big time news, this is pretty much the first news we have in terms of shakeups. In addition to on the coaching staff, the first one we heard about was a subtraction on the coaching staff, and that would be Aaron Carey, linebackers coach, who now will be coaching with the New York Jets. But that's all we've got. So that's all the information I have for you guys. So please share your thoughts in the comments, man. Let me know how you feel about this move or anything else you want to talk about, and I'll do my best to respond to you guys accordingly. But outside of that, guys, before you go, I'm going to remind you, hey, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. And outside of that, turn on those notifications to be aware when videos like these have been posted. Outside of that, man, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Enjoy this Super Bowl, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.